Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Ashok sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, sir. Absolutely fine. आप बताएं, how are you?
बिल्कुल ठीक है. First class. Nice
You,
to see you.
yeah, same here, sir. Same here. And you have a wonderful, colorful background.
Yes. So this is what Google has given. This is a virtual background in the
Oh,
Google
wonderful,
inventory.
wonderful.
So I thought that today for your 50th episode, I must choose something very colorful.
Thank you. It's a sign of new beginning, right?
Yes,
In this COVID era.
absolutely.
Right. Thank you. We have also been joined by Mr. Amit Ronal, who is another key speaker for the day. Welcome, Amit sir. Thank you for
Oh,
joining.
good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. And again,
Good
good to see you.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
We've also been joined by Mr. Sunil Danki, who is the CEO and founder of eMango. Welcome, Sunil sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajul.
Right. Before I begin the session, just would like to share the background. As you all are aware that we have been organizing these sessions since August, and this is our 50th. It's very special moment, and the kind of participation, the kind of leaders we have today. Ashok Pandey sir, Amit sir, Sunil ji, Dharni Upadhyay would be joining us in next moments. Unfortunately, Novita ma'am would not be able to join us today. She has got COVID. She's
Hmm.
been positive now.
Oh,
So
very sad.
right, right. So please allow me to share my screen. I would like to introduce all the speakers to everyone, and would like to formally welcome all the speakers. I would share my screen here. As you all know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. We have collaborators from 12 countries. We aim to create a better world through education. IIEC also aim to build quality centers for elementary education, which are approachable for all kids. It also tries to find best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It also tries to create more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It works in different areas. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review. It also publishes many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. And I'm very proud to share that this is our 50th session, and we have already conducted 49 sessions. In these sessions, we have received 5,126 registrations. We have also received 4,408 questions, uh, and we have seen participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Nepal. And from India, we have seen participation from 19 states and 75 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions, and we believe that we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers. Like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective. And in the end, we would be compiling all the thoughts, all the perspective into a document, and we would be presenting that document to the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders. Now, I would request all the participants, please join me in welcoming today's speakers. First, a key speaker who would be delivering a very special keynote today on a very special topic, mind, soul of NEP 2020. So, Dr. Ashok Pandey sir, Dr. Ashok Pandey sir needs no introduction. He is an institution himself. He's a director of Alcon Group of Schools. He's a postgraduate in physics from Allahabad University and in consultancy management from BITS Planning. Ashok sir has spent more than 3 decades in education sector. He has pursued over the years better ways to impart knowledge, values, and joy to learners. Ashok sir has been a successful school principal, author, speaker, researcher, and facilitator. And I believe he is a leader among leaders. Dr. Ashok led Indian school principals delegation to US, UK, Australia, and Malta. He is a multi award winner. He also won He also received the National Teachers Award by the President of India in 2012. Ashok sir sits on the governing body of National Council of Teacher Education, among his many other assignments. We welcome you, Ashok sir. Your presence makes this 50th session more special. Thank you for joining. It's an honor.
Yeah. So I go ahead now, Rajul.
I'll just introduce other speakers and then I would
Okay.
request.
Fine. Thank you.
Speaker,
Thank you for your kind introduction.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker for the day, Amit Ronald Chauhanji. Amit ji is principal with the SI International School, Bareilly. He has an experience of more than 18 years of teaching and administration. He has been associated with a number of renowned schools like Translam Academy, International, RED Group of Schools, RPS Group of Schools, Mount Litera Z School, Ghaziabad. Has been on a number of panels for discussion, with topics like new education policy, relevance of technology in today's education, experiential learning. He has worked as a resource person with a few prestigious publications. He's a proud recipient of Educator of the Year Award. An appreciation letter from MHRD has also been received by Amit ji. He Principal of the Year Award. We welcome you, Amit sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Our next key speaker, Ms. Dharani Upadhyay. Dharani is the founder and CEO of Fatado School of Music. Fatado School of Music is India's largest music educator. It is a brand which is synonym to music in our country. It has a 150-year rich legacy. It has been working with 200 plus leading schools of India. Fatado has trained over 1 lakh students. It owns many other titles like Bandit, Piano Concert, Cadence Workshops, High Jump Training, FSM Exams, In-Center Recital. It enjoys partnerships with the renowned institutions like Berklee College of Music and NMIMS School of Performing Arts. Our next key speaker will be joining for the day Dr. N.K. Sharma. He's the head of Mechanical Engineering Department with SRM University, Haryana. Dr. Sharma has worked with the Railway Wagon Factories, Indian Engineering Services, Maruti Suzuki India Limited for 31 years as General Manager. His total experience of almost 4 decades in industry and 6 years in academics. He has visited Japan 5 times and also acquired training and learned Japanese language at AOTS, Japan and Suzuki Motor. He has also visited General Motors plant in North America. We are happy with the participation of Dr. Sharma. Our next key speaker, Mr. Sunil Dangi. Sunil ji is the founder and CEO of eMango. He's an IIT graduate. He's having master degree in mathematics and scientific computing. He's also a proud member of Institute of Actuary, United Kingdom. He has worked with ICICI Prudential, HSBC, and Financial Risk Advisor at Ernst & Young, India and UK. He has been a serial entrepreneur for last 6 years in telecom, food, and education. He is doing research on career counseling for last 2 years. Based on that research, he has come up with a product and company called eMango, which is a digital career counseling platform. We welcome you, Sunil ji. We are honored with your presence.
Thanks, Rajul. Thank you.
Right. So now I would request Ashok sir, if I may request you to begin this very special 50th session. Ashok sir.
Thank you, Rajul. You are happy with my audio? It's fine.
Yes, it is absolutely fine, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me to your 50th episode, which is of course my second appearance on your show. I'm also very happy to be in the company of distinguished panelists such as Mr. Amit, Dharani ji, Professor Sharma, and Mr. Sunil. May I congratulate you, Rajul, for achieving the first milestone, I may call it, because you have planned 200 sessions. So you have reached the first leg of 50 sessions, the second, third, and fourth. If in the previous and today 50 sessions, if 5 people appeared in your show, then 250 people appeared so far, right? So I'm sure you will achieve your other milestones. The statistics which you read out, 5,000 registrations, 4,000 questions, 5 countries, these 19 states, 75 cities, looks like the record of Sachin Tendulkar. So you have become Sachin Tendulkar of NEP webinar sessions, right? And what I suggest is that if 250 people, if you can document one suggestion from each one of them, you are by now a proud owner of 250 implementation suggestions or NEP suggestions. So you are a very rich man. Let me congratulate you. And I'm a little jealous of you. This session, you will succeed again. You have got very good experienced speakers. I'm sure it's going to be a great session. You suggested to me that on your 50th episode, I should say something about NEP, and therefore I applied my mind. If everything has been said about it, what new I can add to it. And therefore, I thought that I may not add a new content, but at least let me give you a new title of my topic. And that is how I thought of saying that mind, body, and soul of National Education Policy 2020. So that is what I'm saying. Rajul, can you request if people can unmute? If they have unmuted, they can mute themselves because some noise is coming from somewhere. It might be disturbing to the other listeners. Fine, thank you very much. So, when we talk of education, we always talk of holistic education. And when we talk of holistic education, which means we talk of mind, body, and soul. And therefore, I was wondering whether this policy has its own mind, body, and soul. This is question number one, which came to my mind. The second question that came to my mind was that generally with education so far, our general complaint has been that the education that we are imparting today takes some care of the mind, but puts the body and soul at the rear. That has been the complaint. And therefore, I also wanted to examine whether this education policy is also guilty of doing the same thing or not. So is it talking only about the mind and it is ignoring the body and soul of it? And therefore, I examined it. And let me put it in perspective. So this policy came in the backdrop of two things. One is a very good, resilient resolve of the nation. The clarion call given by the Prime Minister that we have to be Atmanirbhar. You see, so Atmanirbhar Bharat was the preparation that we were doing. And then the second thing happened, which was a bit disappointing, is that we were eclipsed by the pandemic. And therefore, everything went haywire. And we were a little toppled by it. We were disturbed by it. However, we have resurrected, we have reconstructed, and we are looking forward to the future with a lot of optimism. So that is the background. Now, what is the body of this particular policy? Now, one can say that the text of the policy, the 60 pages, the paragraphs, the quotations, the nice wording, the well-crafted essay, is that the body? I think no, that is not the body. The body is never the text and it is never the quotations. Body is the toolkit. Body is the foundation. Body is what is the character of the policy and what character enhancement it wants in the children to be educated. Should we talk only about education as a means to livelihood, or it should be a means to acquisition of knowledge, a means to be a good citizen, or a means to be somebody of some use to someone? So we also want to find out whether we are talking only in terms of a nationhood, or we are talking in terms of a global citizenship. Whether we are talking only for education to individuals, our self-education in terms of family, or we are talking of education for all. And that is why I think the body of this education policy lies in two or three things. First, the body of the policy says that, look, you have to first tackle the foundation years. And therefore, please tap the children at the age of 3 and do not allow their formation years, their primary years, their most innocent years, and the years which are more fertile for learning new things, if they are not tapped, then our education will remain incomplete. The second part of the body lies of this education policy is, should we talk of education as a finite thing? That, okay, one class to another, and then you go to professional studies, you get your job and matter ends. No, this policy says that education is an infinite process. It goes from school to college, to career, to lifelong. So that is the spectrum of this thing. And the third thing is that it says that equity and excellence for every child in this country, because only that will ensure that we have a success and we have sustainability of our societies. So that is, in my opinion, the entire spectrum of body. And therefore, if any of this is disturbed, the beauty of any body or any system is what? If one part of the body is hurt, then the entire body goes into a spin. The entire body is into a pain. So likewise, if any section of our society is not educated, is not given the equity, is not given the accessibility, then the society as a whole will suffer. And if I take an analogy from the COVID, what is the problem that we are suffering? That we have not been able to generate enough antibodies in us to fight against the COVID. So similarly, in our society also, we have to develop antibodies. And what is the antibody of the society? More and more people educated, more and more people empowered, more and more people prepared to take the mantle of the society forward. So that I will rest here as far as the explanation of the body is concerned. Now coming to mind. What does the mind do? Mind is taking everything from the sense organs, and the mind does the processing. And how good the mind will function will depend upon how good the experience is, how good the thinking is, how well trained the mind is, and how nourished the mind is. So this policy talks in terms of that processing and facilitations. And for that, it is necessary that the entire nation comes together to implement this policy. So that is one condition for the best processing of this. There should not be any political differences. Education should become a political thing in this country. There should be a bipartisan agreement on this. There should be a generous financing. Now imagine for 70 years we are struggling for finances. 50 years ago, we were said that we will get 6% of GDP. Today, this policy, it says again, we will get 6% of GDP. To me, it's a laughable thing. Technological equity. COVID has told us so starkly that you just cannot impart education to everybody unless you bring about technological equity. And of course, the people's participation. So if these, enablers are there, if we do not take care of that, the mind of this policy will not function. And therefore, to do this, we need to have, some soul searching. So before I come to soul, let's do a bit of a soul search. And soul search is a quest for certain, queries, doubts, dilemmas. And I'm just raising some of those dilemmas. An answer to those dilemmas will tell us how prepared we are to train our mind and to reach up to the soul of this policy. So what are those dilemmas? Does this society, we as Indians, take care of education of our masses or not? This is the first question that we have to answer. Second, are we capable of politically, financially, psychologically, emotionally, to make education accessible to everybody, to make education affordable to everybody? That is the second question. The third question is, what are the best pedagogies? We just cannot afford to have the same pedagogies which we had yesterday. If we just cannot become the producers and reap production and the consumption of the information, I think we have to go beyond that level of pedagogy. And, and we have to take care of the underprivileged, those who are at the margins, particularly the girls, the people in remote areas, people who are first generations, people who have no access to good schools and good teachers. The next is, are we prepared to believe in the agency of our students? Are we going to give them voice? Are we going to give them an opportunity and a space to be participants in their own learning process? Are we going to teach them kindness, non-violence, creativity, critical thinking? Are we going to teach them to be sensitive enough to think if somebody else in their neighborhood is suffering from hunger, poverty, lack of potable water, lack of energy, inequalities, the dangers of climate change, how it is threatening our peace, our health, our livelihood, our prosperity? I think these are the things that we have to answer to reach up to the soul of this particular policy. So here, this is what I meant by the mind of the national education policy. And when we come to the soul, let me tell you, the complaint that we have had so far is that our education process has become very, very mechanical. There is a frantic race to reach the top, and it has to be humanized. We had reached to a level where our parents' aspiration is that their children must come first, even if they are participating in a race with only one participant. Now, imagine that is the level of craze that we have reached up to. So what we have done in the process is that we have missed the trees for the forest. We have been in the frantic race. We have missed how to work for a transformative society. We have missed how to work for a sustainable model. And for that, this policy's soul dictates and suggests that our schools have to be the hubs of those sustainable models. Our children have to be the first-rate citizens, and they should learn their basic lessons in their schools. For that, it is necessary that they are surrounded by first-rate teachers. It is necessary that they are surrounded by people who have their mission as nation building and who have their mission to give and to impart the best knowledge from their best experiences. And therefore, the soul of the policy says that the greatest gift that the teachers and this society can give to the children is the greatest experience in terms of their learning, in terms of their knowledge building, in terms of their preparation for life. And if that unforgettable experience can be assured to the children, I'm sure this policy would have succeeded in enlightening the soul of this whole policy. So that is what, in my opinion, is the soul. And therefore, in conclusion, let me say that that the Atmanirbhar Bharat will come from every person becoming Atmanirbhar. So self-reliance, and self-development will come from the instrument of this policy. And my wish is that this policy becomes a catalyst to accelerate the process of skill building, the process of creating innovative culture, and then, of course, the process of achieving a great country such as ours. So thank you very much, Rajal, for giving me this opportunity to put forth my views on the mind, body, and soul of NEP 2020.
Thank you, sir. And certainly, we all agree with this. The greatest gift is to make someone prepare for life, right? So, a big thanks, sir, for participation. And we have received many questions, and I would like to present those questions to you in the end of the session. So,
Sure.
We would come back to you.
Definitely.
Now, I would request Amit Ronal, sir. Sir, you have been have been participating in different sessions with a lot of educators. So I'm sure you must have received different kind of perspective. Though when we are inviting school leaders, so many school leaders are also asking, Rajul, so many things are happening on NEP. Do you really think that people still have doubts about NEP? So when we when we look at the questions we have received, when we look at the kind of confusion people have among themselves, so we believe Prime Minister Modi ji was quite right when he said that we need to create a huge awareness campaign around NEP, to make everyone aware of its different parts. So I would request Amit sir if we can have your perspective, Amit ji.
Yes, good afternoon once again, sir. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity for the second time. And I'm really proud that I'm sharing this platform with such great personalities, with respect and regards to all. I have, great pleasure and pride, sir. Ashok, sir. I'm a big follower and fan of yours.
Thank
I
you.
follow
Thank you.
every time on social media, of course, sir. And the one adjective which I would like to quote for you is like you are, Bhishma Pitama to us, right? Really, sir.
Very
Thank
true,
you.
very true, very
Thank you,
true.
Amiji. I'm humbled and honored.
Yes. ठीक है, just please allow me that I'm daring to speak few things in front of you. Otherwise, sir, right?
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Rahul sir, I would like to throw some light on the skill building again, but from the teacher's perspective, when we say that we have to make our children future ready, when we say that our schools have to be future ready schools. So what does it make a complete 100% school? What does it, what is it that makes the school future ready school? So of course, teacher plays a very vital role, and we are teaching 21st century students, and a teacher's role in the 21st century has critically changed from that of being a pedagogue to that of being a facilitator. Teaching in this century is altogether a new phenomenon, not more so because the way we have the learning has revolutionized, the things have been explored. Today learning happens everywhere on the go and can be customized according to one's style and preferences. And very aptly said by Mr. Toffler that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be the people who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is the time when we teachers have to, invest some time in our skill building. They need to cultivate a specific skill set. These includes the first thing is adaptability. So the first skill that teachers need to be armed with is adaptability, or the ability to mold their teaching according to the learning needs of the students. And this pandemic has really brought this opportunity. The way the teachers and students have graduated themselves into this tech savvy mode is really, really hats off to the teachers. And it's really amazing to see that the Hindi teacher, even a Sanskrit teacher, is creating Google Form. And adaptability can be done by incorporating strategies to sustain the students' interest, thinking of fresher ways to disseminate content, and also schooling themselves on emerging technologies, which teachers are doing in this pandemic situation. The another skill set is learner centered classroom. The teacher needs to create a learner centered classroom. Gone are the days of rote learning, taking notes from the blackboard. Students of today should be viewed as producers rather than mere passive listeners. They should be made to own their own learning. Consequently, the instruction of the classroom must be altered in a manner that it encompasses students' contribution and choices also. Collaborative learning is again the another skill of set which have to be adopted by the teachers. But collaborative does not simply refer to projects involving pair work, but also entails teacher students collaboration. And what I have seen during this time, during this pandemic time, the collaboration between teachers and students. Suppose there are certain teachers who are, don't have tools and they're taking classes on Zoom. They're supposed to record their classes. They're not able to record. So the students, any student of their classes, they're recording the classes and they're sharing it with the teachers. Okay, they are preparing assignments also for themselves, for their peers also under the peer assessment. By creating digital resources, presentations, and assignments together, educators can build a new sense of confidence in the students and also help classroom activities resemble real life needs of the students. Of course, partner with technology is very, very important in the 21st century. Teachers must understand that the current students belong to the generation Z and generation Alpha. And these two generations have grown up with unprecedented amounts of technology at their fingertips. They're digital natives. We are not, we teachers are not the digital natives, but they are digital natives and are comfortable using apps and codings as teachers are flipping pages. So going digital and understanding the perspective of the students who are digital natives is another essential skill that educators must inculcate. Technology must be used strategically to benefit students and to promote independent and autonomous learning. Another thing which I would focus on is project based learning. The focal point in the 21st century classroom should be project based learning. The idea of teaching only using textbooks belonged to the previous century. Now, students of today must be encouraged to conduct their research, formulate their questions, contact experts, and create final projects using the devices already in their hands. Thus, educators need to expand their teaching toolbox, try fresh methods, and design newer tasks to teach the existing content. In a time when the mental health and well being is one of the biggest challenges that students are facing, in this time also, teachers must give students the skills they need both for today and for the future also. As Ashok sir has rightly said that education is an infinite process. It goes on and on. So a teacher too has to be a lifelong learner. Teachers must be lifelong learner themselves. Teachers must understand that simply having a degree in teaching is not enough anymore. The 21st century classroom has its own set of demands, and to fulfill these demands, the teachers need to be aware of ever changing trends in the education industry, know the buzzwords, address different issues head on, expanding your professional network by connecting with eminent personalities from your field, having conversation with them with like-minded individuals is as essential as practicing teaching. So the educators of today need to be curious, flexible, and forward thinking in order to give students what they will need 15 years down the line. The role of teachers in the 21st century increasingly emphasizing meditated learning. It needs to be all about empowering students with transferable skills for employability, growing digital citizenships, critical thinking, creativity, as well as sustainable learning that would hold up to rapidly changing world, not just to limited of prescribed content that has been chosen for the past relevance. So by adopting these approach, I believe teachers will be able to see the changes in the classroom, schools, and of course in the community at large. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Amit sir. And certainly, a teacher has to be a lifelong learner, and that's again a very important element. When we have people like Ashok sir, we have people like Amit sir, right? So now I would request Sunil ji. You have been doing a wonderful research on this. You have been a serial entrepreneur. You have successfully launched, organizations in telecom. You have successfully launched organizations in different areas, and now you have been doing research in career path. You have been meeting a lot of educators across country and outside India for last 2 3 years. So, we would like to understand your perspective. One from the industry side, like both Ashok sir and Amit sir have spoken about the skill, skill we need for a successful career in times to come. So from industry side, what is your perspective? What are your expectations? And overall, what do you think about anything? Sunil ji.
It was great to hear Ashok sir. well-known personality as far as the education industry is concerned. And thanks, I was hearing out the Atmanirbhar word was repeated by Ashok sir a lot of time, and that's the and Mr. Amit was also saying that technology should be used a lot, right? So the platform which we are developing is the intention behind that platform is that as per the new education policy, there are more options are coming for the student to opt for. They are not just the traditional streams. A student can, instead of choosing the stream, they will be choosing the subject after class 10th. And of course, these options are very good. When I was a student, then I was good at mathematics, so I took the non-medical stream. But I wanted to study economics also. I wanted to study political science also, but I couldn't do that. And the reason for that is because that thing was not allowed. And we are thankful to that new education policy is not dividing a child only in these three categories, basically science, commerce, and humanities. So although the option has been increased, but it can also lead to more confusion among the students that what will be I mean, as there are only when there are only 3 or 4 streams, now there will be optional subjects, so more confusion will be there. So how a child or a parent can choose the best fit career for the child and without having any human biases? So for that, I'll just I'll share my screen with all of you, and then I keep on explaining what our product is all about. I hope you are able to see my screen. Rajul, can you see my screen?
No, Sunil, we are not able to see your screen.
Okay, just a sec, sir. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. eMango is the name of our organization, and this stands for Education Management on the Go. With the help of technology, one can manage not the learning point of view, but he can manage the career he wants to go for. So eMango stands for Education Management on the Go, and we are trying to solve a problem. And the problem statement is that conventional ways of choosing a career and admission planning for a child seems to be not the best ways. Now, we are to solve this problem. We are working with R&D department of IIT Delhi, and this is our team. Is a Professor Purnima. She's very well-renowned psychologist, and she's a she's a president of International Association of Applied Psychology. This is me, Sunil, and Nitin is an educationist for last 20 years. Dr. Vijay Pandey, again a PhD, is a famous psychometrician. He's working with us from France. She's Mira. She is ex-counselor in IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, and various schools. Shilpi is psychologist and then developer from IIT Guwahati, and there are various other team members. Now, generally, what are the conventional ways? A child chooses a career under the influence or the guidance of family, parent, teachers, friends, nowadays internet also. But the question is, are these people or the sources are aware of all the career option exist? Do they understand the importance of aptitude, personality, and interest of a child while choosing a career? Or do they know the optimal path to reach at the epitome of a particular career? So we have done a survey, and the questions of the people, those who are guiding the child for choosing a career, are they really qualified to do so or not? Right. Now the question is, the choosing a career in a conventional way can lead to a wrong career choice, and that may lead to dropouts. That may lead to the unemployable degree holders, and that can lead to the restlessness in your career during and then in rare and extreme circumstances, it can lead to suicide also. And these are not just our assumptions, we have facts for it. These are the few facts. This is a Hindu's news, which says around 2,461 students dropped out after taking admission into IIT in last 2 years. So this is the key. How this is so drastic. Around 2,500 students dropping after taking admission into IIT. That's a very big. One should think about it. What could be the reason? Next is this Economic Times news, which says 94% of engineering graduates are not fit for job. Then again, this is a very alarming stuff. And the more alarming is that in India, these are Times of India news, that in India, one student suicide per 1.5 hour. 1.5 घंटे में एक बच्चा suicide कर लेता है. It's so bad. Now the question is, what is the solution to it? Solution is that, as I said, the people those who are guiding the child are not aware of all the career options. They are not aware of how to choose the career. They are not aware even of the path. Then there should be a platform, a digital platform, where a child himself or the person those who are guiding the child can explore. And then after exploring what is the best fit for a child, they can conduct a psychometric assessment, and based on that, one can assess the personality, interest, and aptitude of the child, and hence that can be matched to the career. And then telling the path, that which colleges he can apply for, which are the exams, and all this. Now the question is where we are using the technology. Now the thing which you are doing can lead to increase in the happiness index, and it has a social value, and it can also lead to increase in the economic. It has an economic value because it will increase the efficiency of people, because if they will be doing which suits their personality and interest, their efficiency is going to increase. Now this is a small survey which we did. Then just to find out, there's a digital survey. It was sent to 10,000 people, and we got some note. Of course, all not 10,000 people responded to. Around 1,000 people responded to it, and this is the result. We asked the parents, do you need such kind of platform where you can explore career, colleges, exam for your child? And 92% parents, 81% says yes, 11% says maybe. So approximately 92% say are interested in such kind of things. Then the next question was that we asked again from the parents that do you think that scientific way of choosing the career, aptitude, personality, and interest are the more a better way of choosing the career? 94% parents says yes. So this is from there we can see that this is the thing which are demanded by the parents. And this is the situation in India. The career counselors in India, there are around, and this is again based on the number which is picked up from internet, there is one career counselor per 3,200 student, whereas in US there is only one counselor per 21 student. So the thing is that this thing cannot be solved through the humans, because we need so many counselors, and there will be in career counseling there is a personal biases could come. So what we are using it, we're taking the help of the technology to reduce solve this problem. Now there are existing players in the market, those who are trying to solve the problem, but our product is very, very different from this, because we are removing every complexity from the career counseling system. What we are doing is we are making very interesting audio videos for every career, and one can watch or listen to these careers whenever they want. If they are traveling, they are lying on their bed. Instead of making the thing text based, generally if a career explanation has been given in a text, child will feel boring, right? So it's very difficult for him to understand the text based thing. So we are making a platform where one can explore the career through audio visuals. And the best part is that we are also for the psychometric assessment, what we are doing is we are developing the games, and that is being done with the R&D department of IIT Delhi to find out the API, aptitude, personality, and interest of the child. So through the games, a child will be playing a game, and his interest and personality and aptitude will come out, and it will be matched to the best fit career. And the report of that psychometric assessment is also an animated audio visual, and it's a multilingual. Like तुहाडा मुंडा extrovert है, extrovert मुंडे ये कर दे सी, तो it will help even people those who do not understand the English, so it can reach to the masses. And as the technology, with the help of technology, we have reduced the cost of career counseling to the large extent, and we are making it almost DIY, do it yourself kind of thing. Now, this is from the school administration. This is the from the school administration. It is expected that a teacher should guide us. Which stream should I choose? Which exam should I apply for? And which college should I apply for? But does the teacher have all this information? Or do they have, even if they have this information, do they have the time really to solve this? Now, what is the again the problem with the school is that teachers generally think, I want a less workload. I only want to teach. I don't want to do all these things, right? Even and the management, the owners of the school generally thinks that there should be high revenue, less expenses, high reputation of the school should be there. So we are after looking into all these things, we have designed our product so the cost can be kept low and it should be mostly DIY, do it yourself kind of thing. So these are the few schools where I've attached our product. So I'll just give you the small demo that how the platform works. This is, although we are developing it, so it is not a full-fledged product till now. We haven't launched it, but I just wanted to sharing with you people so that we can get some feedback from you. This is the kind of the dashboard of the child. So a student, here he can explore all the careers. He can just go here. He can, for example, this is a forensic medicine. He can click on the career. This is a video about a career. He can listen to it. What are the skills required? What are the future prospects? What are the salaries in India? And then what are the paths? And what are the colleges and all those things? What are the entrance exams and all course information in the sense that what is the fees in India and abroad and in government and private colleges? And what are every information is here in the similar way. What are the job prospects? Is a future prospect is a moderate for this. These have been the job in 2017, 18 and 19. And these is the salary growth at the entry level. These are the salaries. And these are the few famous personalities. A child can shortlist this career that will be added into his cart so that he need not to, again and again go and see. These are the information of all the colleges. He can explore the colleges, what is the rank of a particular college and everything. And in the similar way, he can shortlist the exams for which he want to appear. And there will be an automatic notification for the child for this. And this is the profile of the child where his wish list will be here. The career he would have chosen will come here. For example, if I'll go and explore a career, back to a career exploration, say there is a digital marketing career, he can explore it. And if he find it interesting, he will click on it. It will directly get added into his cart. See, this was not here, only 2 careers were there. So similarly, he can, and based on this, the career he has chosen, what we are doing is based on our AI platform, we'll keep on giving some suggestion to the child. This is the wish list of the child. These are the suggestions especially for you. This is automatically will be happening because the career which are similar to the career which he has chosen. So we'll be keep on giving him. And the career counselor, we are reducing the requirement of the career counselor to the large extent because our test is a video game format based, and hence the chances of error in the test are reduced to a large extent. And the reports is also in the audio visual format in an animated way. And hence the understanding the report requirement has also been reduced. So the requirement of career counselor has been reduced to a large extent. It is everything is a DIY based. If a child want to choose the best fit career, so this is the way आप क्या बनना चाहते हो, बच्चे से ये पूछा जाता है बहुत सवाल. So this is our character hero. A child will start playing the game and he will play the game and the report will come automatically. And this information is everywhere. The information will be there will be an app in mobile. A child can explore, his parents can explore, or whosoever want to guide the child. So this is our digital platform, and this is the Atmanirbhar. And as Ashok sir was saying, that is a new education policy is all about that. And we want to make our child to learn that how to how to do everything on your own. And this is we can do with the help of technology, and that's where using AI and machine learning concepts to solve all this information. So this is all about this. Now I request from the educationists like Ashok Pandey sir, Amit sir, that if you have some feedback for us, we can implement it at the right time. It will be a great help. So that's all from my end. Thanks for hearing me.
Right. Thank you, Sunilji. For giving us an alternative way how we choose a career. And certainly, this is a very, pressing question. In fact, Ashok sir, I would like to, bring one thing in your notice that we have also been doing a lot of workshops and awareness campaign on this career counseling part. And one question we generally ask from students, when we interact with them, that please share any 5 relevant career options, which are related to your stream, be it non-medical or commerce with math or arts. Very rarely we have found any student who has given us 5 or 10 good relevant options, though we have in India we have more than 23,000 options after 12th. But very rare, very few students have done some kind of thorough research before choosing a career. You know, so it's always a wrong way, or sometimes, or most of the times, it's a wrong process which we choose or which we follow to choose a career. So thank you, Sunilji, for giving us a bringing this kind of solution.
Raju, I'll like to take one more minute, just a sec. I'll share with you that how easy it is to implement it. This I am again shared my screen. I hope you can see that. So what we are doing is, and everything will be happening from the school's own website actually. These are the few links. For example, this school has which has already got those things. So on the school website, there is an icon, Explore Career. We are making it so easy. The school need not to do any very strong intervention. There's a student will click on the Career Explore button and he can start exploring the career. It's that easy. School can give the holiday homework and lots of things. The schools which are getting, as for example, this ADM, some school is there. They also added a button on their website, Explore Career. So that's how we are doing it with the schools actually. And
Right.
this is or one phase only, that is which is just for the career counseling module has been completed, and other things are coming. So
Thank you.
Thanks sir.
Thank you, Sunilji. And meanwhile, we have also been joined by Dharni Upadhyay ji, who is the founder and CEO of Fatado School of Music. Welcome, Dharni ji. And
Hi.
I'm sure it's always very daring to come late. When we have principals like Ashok sir and Amit sir. So I don't know what punishment you are going to receive from the principal. And we have also I would request before we are also being joined by Rakhi Verma ma'am. So welcome, Rakhi ma'am. Rakhi ma'am has been a very integral part of this entire movement, this entire leadership talk series. So welcome, Rakhi ma'am, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rajul. It's a pleasure, and I couldn't resist. I saw the names, and it's always a pleasure to listen to Ashok Pandey sir, Amit sir. So I thought of, attending today as a participant.
I was missing you, Rakhi ji.
Sorry, sir.
I was missing you.
Okay. So I couldn't stay away, so I joined.
Yeah. In fact,
Thank you, sir.
अशोक सर, आपके सेशन में तो हमारे दिमाग में कई बार ये थॉट भी आया कि हमें टिकट चार्ज कर लेना चाहिए. There are many people who are always keen to hear you, sir. Right. So Rakhi ma'am, we would like to have your quick Ashok sir, please.
No. I was just saying, if you charge ticket once, next time nobody will come.
So Rakhi ma'am, we would also request you if you can share your quick remarks. But before I come to you, I would request Dharni ji, if we can have your thoughts. Arts has got a very important place in this national education policy, and you have been a pioneer in that part of education. You have been working with so many leading schools. You have a huge decades of corporate experience with you. So I would request if you can share your perspective, Dharni ji.
Yes, thank you, Rajul. And my sincere apologies. I think I was at loss for not having the opportunity to listen to such wonderful educationists today, but just got caught up with something. So please accept my humble apology. Intent is not to not be there, but it's just situational. So I think the beauty of importance that arts is now gaining and suddenly has got so much of visibility, and I'm so glad that NEP has put it in such clear perspective out there. I've always been the promoter of the fact that while we speak about careers, a very beautiful presentation by Mr. Dangi. I was fortunate to catch the last 10 minutes of his presentation. So idea is schooling is an exploratory journey where children are given this opportunity to explore and understand and gain insight to themselves, understand the worldly concepts and see what is it that they love to do, what is it that they find most interest in things like. So when children are growing up, they keep coming and talking to you about what is it that they really love to do and what is it that they hate to do. And idea is, how do you give them this exploratory journey, not just to the academic world in life, but to the world of arts, music, sport, all of it. Because all of us are, specially sculpted, and we all come with specific strengths and specific behaviors. Um, Even before you decide to understand and gain the perspective of what career will be suitable for you, 90% of the people today make choices of career based on what their peers are doing or what their family is pressurizing them to do. Very few get an opportunity to really explore, evaluate, assess, and go with their heart in terms of, hey, I really love to do this. I think I want to do this because this is what I would like to spend my time in. And you will see people who have always, embarked upon a journey to achieve something that they love to do. They have achieved tremendous success, because then work just doesn't seem like work. You are doing that because you're immensely passionate about it. You really enjoy it, and that becomes your complete dedication and commitment. How do you give children today that kind of blended exposure for them to discover their love, their inclination? It could be towards coding, it could be towards science, it could be towards mathematics, it could be pure art. And I think NEP is very beautifully, hopefully, if executed in the right spirit, is going to give that kind of an opportunity to students. Speaking of arts in particular, I think arts is always told to be a right brain dominated function. How do I always say this, that most of our schools nurture our children from a left brain perspective. We are so left brain focused, whereas art, creative subjects, application of what you learn, etc., is so right brain driven. And hence you starkly see how empathy, emotion, managing stress, dealing with day-to-day issues, finding solutions to creative problems becomes so much of a challenge, because I've just not done that before. I've not really used that part of my brain all through this. And I think when people will really blend these two sides of our brain and give our young minds an opportunity to learn both the creative subjects as well as continue to work with academic subjects, or blend creative subjects with academics to make the whole learning program far more interesting and engaging, it's going to probably help our young people explore so many more things. And yes, then probably choosing a career is not so difficult, because by the time I graduate out, I know that this is what I really love to do. And Furtado School of Music was really built with that vision of, a complete commitment towards enabling music education for children across the country, for learners across the country of all age groups. COVID has been, in a way, a boon for many of us, because it has pushed us to go out there and explore opportunities and make the world, come to your platform and bring an opportunity to the doorstep of anyone and everyone, no matter which geography do they operate from. We were working with almost 150 plus schools, 75,000 students across 15 cities. And today, as time has progressed, we have launched FSM Buddy, true to our vision statement, true to the whole cause that we have, very very close to our heart. FSM Buddy is a platform which we have really created to aid right brain development, to aid an exploratory journey for students. Children love to explore. They like to go and try out everything. They figure out to try and figure out whether they really like this or not. And FSM Buddy is a platform which offers you an opportunity to do just that. I want to do speech and drama, I go and try that out. I want to learn a foreign language, I go try that out. I want to play the violin, I try that out. I want to play the keyboard, I try that out. I want to sing, I try that out. Maybe I'll drop it, or maybe I'll just discover my passion to do something. Maybe I love to learn languages. There are many children who have a very natural flair for languages. Maybe I might have a flair for some other skill set. Maybe I have a natural flair to singing. But how do I discover that unless I try it? There's so many adults who I meet, and I talk to on a day-to-day basis, who always tell me, it was my childhood dream to do this. I always wanted to try this out. I always wanted to play this instrument, or I always wanted to sing. Why? I hope the future generation does not have any such bucket list which is still not tick marked till they become adults, and they have this opportunity to explore that journey while they are growing up. And that's where FSM Buddy plays a very significant role. So, and today, children, adults, senior citizens across the world access this platform to come on and learn something that they always wanted to learn, to enable their passion, to explore how the whole learning journey is. And FSM has really, put out an amazing set of live classes of blended curriculum, blended with digital as well as teacher led classes, so that one is constantly engaged with different kind of content being used to teach a child, an adult, or a beginner, or an intermediate, or an advanced student. So I think arts will continue to play an important role in this world today, where we see this immense number of people who feel stressed, depressed, is so because we don't know how to manage our emotion. And at the end of the day, why are we doing all this? And I ask this question to all of them, not as part of my attempt to pitch it, but all of you on this platform. Why do you work? Because you're very passionate about it. You feel you're really doing it because you're giving it back to the society. You feel it is meaningful, it is helping build and contribute to the development of generations to come, and that gives you a sense of gratification and fulfillment, which makes you feel happy. I think we feel extremely happy when we feel this platform is made accessible to thousands and millions of students who are able to explore and nurture their talent, and gain from the joy that music and all performing arts brings to them. So performing arts is only there to make it big. It's going to enhance the ability to be creative, be more empathetic, and balance and lead balanced life in years to come. And it's going to be an interesting way to see how this pans out over a period of time. As you can see, there are many events, performance opportunities, live events, Facebook events, Instagram events where children are participating. The most exciting part is we've had over 30,000 live sessions, virtual lessons already that we've conducted in the last 4 months alone. And almost 10,000 plus students learning on this platform just during the COVID. So imagine the opportunity to do so much more, and such amazing times for all of us to be able to explore this while sitting at home, because usually otherwise it's a big fight in terms of how do you gain access to so much more qualitative stuff, finding something right and pursuing something right with the limited time and bandwidth that one has. Today this has been a beautiful journey for all of us, and I'm sure once COVID settles down, and hopefully we all will be back to schools and we'll be back to doing business as usual, we'll have many more such programs coming back and making way for our children to explore, learn, and pursue a passion which will last them a lifetime for sure. So that's what we are doing, and that's an opportunity that NEP has opened up, and hopefully a lot of schools will implement these programs more wholeheartedly and more with the spirit of not keeping it co-curricular but integrated with their subjects, and give everybody a chance to explore and learn something that they most definitely want to learn. We've been in this space, we've got a lot of awards and recognitions, but I think this journey currently has been the most exciting journey for us in the last 6 months. So looking forward, more exciting times, more good work to do, and looking forward to support from one and all in making this possible on ground. This is going to be a small video that shows that quickly narrates what I probably said in the last 10 minutes. Luke, you can put it on. Thank you. We can't hear the audio, Luke. See, this is the power of music, music, visuals without music sounds so lifeless. And this is the role of music. When you add music to your life, you will just see the impact of seeing a visual without music and seeing a visual with music. That's the power of music in our lives on a day-to-day basis, I feel. Great, thank you. I think that's all that I had to say, and I'm sure I've said enough about how arts education and music is going to be of such a big help to all of us. I'm sure when you listen to your favorite song or your favorite music or your favorite singer, it definitely puts a big smile on your face and brings lots of lovely memories of the past or the present or the future that is going to pan out. And hence it's so important, because it's important to be happy, and it's very important for us to teach our children how to find that happiness and stay happy no matter what the situation is. Thank you.
Thank you, Dharani ji, for sharing your thoughts and how music certainly can increase efficiency, in our other subjects as well. Right. So before we start the question answer. We start presenting the questions to all the eminent speakers. I would request Rakhi ma'am. Rakhi ma'am, in the beginning, Ashok sir said that this entire program, this is the 50th session. 5,000 plus educators have registered for these sessions from 5 countries, 75 cities. So Ashok sir compared this entire program like it's a Sachin Tendulkar of this NEP thing. So if this leadership talk can be called Sachin Tendulkar, sort of, so then Rakhi ma'am, you are the Ramakant Acharikar ji, for this Sachin Tendulkar thing. Uh, Only under your mentoring, only under your leadership and guidance, we could achieve or we could go this far. So I would request, you have done a good research about NEP. You have also interacted with thousands of educators. So what are your quick remarks on NEP and, what are your thoughts, Rakhi ma'am?
Thank you, Rajul, and it is always a pleasure and working with you and being a part of any of your programs. And as I say that these leadership talks has really helped all of us to learn from eminent personalities like Pandey sir and so many leaders who've joined us. So it has always been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Today I joined as a participant. So quickly, I would just say that we say every dark cloud comes with a silver lining. So these COVID times have also taught us a lot. It was a lot of reality check that could happen during these times. We were forced to acknowledge the importance of technology, life skills of all. We were all kind of secluded in our homes, and it was skills which came to our benefit. So it shows that it's very important for us to not only impart the bookish knowledge to our children, but at the same time we need to prepare them for life. And then the flexibility that we're talking about now in the NEP, that is also being stressed upon, that there were so many professions and careers we saw, they completely got wiped out. So most of the people we would see around us who took up their hobbies as their means of earning the bread and butter. We saw so many people coming up with those fitness lessons online, or selling art and craft. So that flexibility came along, that helped. So it was an eye opener for all of us, that we need to be prepared for the worst. So, and that is what even NEP talks, that we must prepare our children so well that in whatever situation they are stuck, so they should be able to take up some career or profession, because this multidisciplinary approach and the flexibility that has been given to the learners, that's going to definitely help them in the long run. So it has been a lot of thought and passion has gone in it, and I'm sure that with successful and effective implementation, this is going to lead to end-to-end transformation of our education system for good. So that's what I would like to add here. Yeah.
Thank you, Rakhi ma'am. Thank you once again, all the speakers, all the participants. Now I would request all the speakers, Ashok sir, Amit sir, Dharni ji, Sunil ji, and Rakhi ma'am, to you as well. I would request, I would present questions. We would request if you can share your perspective on these questions. Ashok sir, I would request if we can begin with you.
Yes, Rajul, tell me.
Sir, this question has come from Miss Shalini Tandon. She is a headmistress with GD Goenka School, Gurgaon. Shalini ji has asked, with the announcement of a new numeracy and literacy program and assessment for class 3rd, 5th, and 8th in NEP, how to prepare the students for it. This is first part, and second part. This is from other educator. So they've asked, like, what kind of trainings would be required for teachers for successful implementation of NEP. Ashok sir.
Yeah, I think Shalini ji has got the pulse of the whole problem, right? The two problems that this policy is going to face is, one is that it's a half-hearted implementation, or people not joining it. So that will only be one of the failures of the policy, or that will cause the failure. And the second is the role of teachers, okay? And it is not only for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, it is for all the classes. from class age 3 upwards, right? The entire foundation years, from 3 to 8 years. And let us say if we have some experience of, primary. So before primary, what we call early child care and education, I think that is going to be a whole new world within the education sector, particularly in the school, where new child carers, new caregivers, new career opportunities for people to come and join, and their training, their orientation. I think that is going to be a very, very big challenge. For this, we will a lot of funding will be required, institutions will be required, trainers will be required, and of course, a new method of training these people will be required. So that is a big challenge. Now, if Shaliniji's question is with regard to particularly primary school children, I think the primary is the foundation year. And in that year, what we have to teach the children and how do we teach them? And the teacher's preparation for that will be very, very crucial. Because if this foundation is not built in a very, very strong manner, the entire building of middle school and senior school and later preparation for life and everything, and people like Sunil will be very, very disappointed that they do not have the basic skills. They cannot think for themselves. They cannot make decisions. They cannot work in a team. They are not problem solvers. So I think these are the things that we have to do. So I fully agree with her. I cannot give her 1, 2, 3 bullet points about training. There is a whole lot of methodology of training, but I acknowledge in response to her question the training of the teachers, both pre-service and in service. And third, I call it continuous development of their professional competencies. All 3 trainings will be very, very required. Unfortunately, pre-service training in our country has a very poor record, and I don't want to speak more about that. But therefore, the onus will lie on the in-service training, right? Because right now, the implementation of the policy will be with the existing teachers. And therefore, we're not going to appoint a whole lot of new teachers straight away. So those teachers in service, and I believe the school-based training of those will be the first thing. The second is, because what is, Rajul, let me tell you, I'll take only 1 minute more. This policy is going to accelerate a system shift. Now, a system shift means our classrooms will have to be different. Our teachers have to be different. Our learners are already different, and they have told us how different they are, and their learning experience has to be different. So the learning experience will be different when we shift as teachers as to what we were. So we cannot become the lecturers, what I call broadcasters, right? And we cannot think that we are the only source of knowledge. That we have realized hard way, particularly in the last 8 or 9 months. So we have to change. So we have to develop the love for learning in the children. We have to catalyze their process of curiosity. We have to bring our deep pedagogies, as we call it, interactive pedagogies, inquiring pedagogies, integration of both what Dharini ji has said, integration of art, and also, preparing children for choosing a purpose in life, then only the career choices will be very, very good later. What is your purpose? What inspires you? What gives you mojo moment? Who are the people you would like to work with? Who are the people who inspire you today? What inspirations you're going to give to the people? And this whole lot of a spectrum will become the curriculum of teacher training in the days to come.
Right. Thank you, Ashok sir. And I would request Amit sir if you can take on this question. This has been asked by Ms. Jyoti Mishra. Jyoti ji is a senior coordinator with the Sunbeam School, Varanasi. Jyoti ji has asked how this NEP, addresses the issue of students dropouts, especially in villages and in budget schools or among the poorer section of society. Amit ji. Amit ji, you are on mute, sir. Amit sir, you are on mute. Right. So I believe Amit sir, are you able to? We are not able to hear you, sir. I believe you are on mute. Right. So we'll come back to Amit sir with the same question. I would request Dharni ji, if you can answer this one. This is a very regular question to our sessions. How this NEP proposes changes to art education. How do you see that it is going to get evolved, art education in coming time? You are on mute, Dharni ji.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Rajul. I think art education is going to go through a 360-degree change, Rajul. We've seen art education overall, no matter what stream of art you pick up, has been largely extracurricular or being operating on a standalone basis across most schools. Very few schools have really used the integrated approach to embed art education into mainstream, to kind of motivate, inspire, or engage learners in a very, very creative and, in a differential form. So, art education, again, the same way, it's the same problem of mainstream academics. You will see new teachers, new methodologies, new curriculums, new ways of teaching, a lot of research being used even by in the art forms to see how best can you present the content to kind of make the learner aware of where the art comes from. And also, we look at art in a very uh, I would beg your pardon for the lack of an appropriate word, in a very frivolous way. um, we don't really look at art as an investment for many years to become an expert. हमें लगता है एक साल मैंने कर लिया तो मुझे आ गया सब कुछ. I mean, people learn for years and years, and probably even after becoming great names, continue to learn, practice, rehearse, and keep sharpening their artistic skill sets to become better and better at what they do. But art is looked at, because we just don't have the background of what it takes to own that particular skill set. So change of mindsets, change of curriculum, change of people, um, and that's where institutionalized support to a lot of schools who will probably come with that kind of expertise, who will come with that kind of curriculum, and who will bring that kind of people to share the knowledge with the learners, will probably grow in years to come. You probably might see a national art curriculum evolving eventually. Like in most developed countries, art curriculums are listed in their national curriculums, where the art teachers also know exactly what to teach students in years to come, right from early years to graduation days. We don't have any degree for teachers who want to become art teachers. How do you teach art? There is, or music, you don't have degrees to become music teachers. These are professions that are very, very formally pursued in many countries all over the world, so that they become great educators in those spaces, and hence they can bring about great learning in the education space. So lots to change, lots to develop, and lots to learn in that space as art becomes an integrated form of our education system.
Right. Thank you. And Rakhi ma'am, I would request if you can take on this one. And then after that, I would request Sunilji. Rakhi ma'am, this question has come from Jhansi. Ms. Shilpi Singh, she's a principal with Alpine Public School, Jhansi. She has asked, how categorically, if you can elaborate three changes this NEP can bring, for rural students.
Yes, Rajul. See, for rural, I think it is only in the rural belt the dropouts are more. So this somehow will answer your previous question also. with NEP, we are talking a lot about joyful learning, and the entire NEP is lot of it's student centric. I would say we are talking about a student centric education system. So with these kind of pedagogies and the flexibility in choosing the subjects which has been given to the learners, this will definitely reduce the dropouts, and it is going to bring a lot of children to school. Because when they will, why usually the children, they drop out when they're not finding it very interesting, or they are not able to cope up with the stress of particular subjects. Because if they are taking up non-medical, so they have to choose those fixed 4 subjects. So this is the reason, then later they are not able to cope up. So with this flexibility which has been given with the NEP, that's going to help a lot. Another is the skills which we are talking about. So in rural schools, it's going to be taken very positively because of the vocational training which will be provided to the children in the schools, because that's going to help them do a lot in their own set of, say, with the farmers or the carpentry or the pottery that we are talking about. So that's going to definitely help them become the entrepreneur, or not look for jobs, or rather create jobs for themselves. So, and another is the flexibility of language. The language which has been said, that the medium of instructions can be the native language or the mother tongue. So that's also going to be a very positive change for rural schools, because finding the teachers otherwise becomes an issue sometimes. And with the native language becoming the medium of instructions, that's going to definitely help enhance the content, or enhance the academic knowledge of the children. The language will not become a hindrance for the students learning. So that's going to be definitely positively shape up the education in the rural sector.
Right,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Rajal, may I come in here for a minute only?
Please,
You
sir.
I'm very touched emotionally by this question, and therefore I thought I'll come here. Rakhiji has very brilliantly responded to it. But what I'm coming here from is that this question has come from a principal in Jhansi, and it has taken me to many, many decades back when I was a student of primary school in a village, right? And that was the time we were squatting on the floor. We will carry our own sacks. We will clean the campus of the school. We also painted the walls. We were allocated a bed of flowers and plants. I think, I can tell you with full confidence that the implementation of the NEP is going to be one of the best in the rural areas. Children are more hungry for learning. They are more hungry for new experiences, right? And as Rakhi said, that the language will be encouraged to be imparted in their own mother tongue. I think that is the best way to learn something, at least in those formative years. And therefore, I think, but what we require is, we require the good people around those children. We require the people with empathy, compassion, those who can make a difference. In rural areas, you do a little and you will see a lot of difference in the psychology, emotion, and learning of those children. So I think it is going to augur very, very well for the rural children. Thank you, Rajat.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rajul, sorry, just to add a bit, and I so agree with Mr. Pandey and Raki ma'am. I think it's such a beautiful point of vocation skills and how they're going to play such an important role in the rural areas, and how this will reduce the dropout drastically. In fact, there's a very beautiful movie that is up on Netflix, which I think you should all watch. It's called Purna. It's about an initiative by the government of Andhra Pradesh in the rural, schools, and how they introduce these extracurriculars to address the dropout problems, and how the success of one child or two children in the district increase the admissions by 6 folds and reduces the dropout by 95%. So very very nicely addressed by you. I thought I must mention this because I very recently saw this, and it's so
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Dharani ji, for sharing that. And now I would request Sunil ji, if you can take on this one. This NEP, this NEP has put a special emphasis upon vocational learning at the school level. So many school have asked this question even during the previous sessions, that how big challenge it would be to find right trainers for those vocational programs. And this question has been asked by the principal of Brainiac Public School, that's in Kolkata, Miss Payal Srivastava. So Payal ji has asked this question. Sunil ji, sir, you're on mute.
As NEP emphasizes on the lot of experiential learning, and they are talking about the starting the internship from the 6th class onwards, right? So as you are saying, ki vocational training related challenges. Frankly speaking, that I don't think that in India we have the capacity or that many number of trainers we have for the even for the vocational training. If you'll for that, we generally the vocational training people take after 10th or after 12th, right? And if you want it to take at the lower level, then for that all different kind of trainers and different kind of training needs to be designed. And of course that is the human are there to solve every challenges, that is not going to the issue. But already we are not prepared for that, that's for sure. We will have to prepare such kind of things. And again, with the help of technology, lots of things can be done. It will be a challenge, but it's not something which is impossible. We can solve it. So definitely it will be a challenge, but solvable challenge. That's all I have.
Right. Thank you. And I find this very regular statement from entrepreneurs and leaders that we are here to find solutions. That's our key job, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Raju.
I was about to say this, that Mr. Dangi is seeing it as a business opportunity.
right. Absolutely. So our job is to
Yeah.
find solutions, right?